happy to be here to interview you about your new book because I'm a huge fan of your original book. And but before we move into the new book, I got something to say. I mean, firstly, that I cannot say that your book is your original book is the first bird guide that China has ever had, but it is definitely the most influential one at the time, even until today. Before the publish of it, the information, all those information and knowledge about birds in China have never been, presented in such an easy way. Countless people started to watch birds because of your book, because it made those information and knowledge about birds in China so, accessible and available. After reading your books, people start to realize that, wow, we are such a biodiversity rich country with so many species of birds. And about 10 years ago, when I entered the university as a student majoring in wildlife conservation, I received your book as a gift from a friend. And that's when I started to watch birds. And at that time, the group of birds, a group of bird watchers in China, I think was not that big. And people would still look at you curiously when you take out your binoculars and aim at trees in city parks. But now, no matter when and where you decided to go bird watching, you will definitely meet someone with similar interest. And also I have noticed a rather big change in bird watching groups in China, because back to 10 years ago, most of the bird watchers I've seen are university professors or students, but and also there are only a few bird watching festivals in China annually. And now bird watching are almost becoming a nationwide activity, from retired seniors to pupils. And more people are started to notice and watch birds around them. And many of them are with your books, in their backpacks. So that's a huge change. And there are a lot of bird watching activities, like bird watching festivals held all over China, basically covering the whole year. And bird watching clubs are established in many cities, universities, and high schools, even primary schools. That's a huge change. And after almost two decades after its release, your book is still the bird guide in China.
Thank you for those kind words, Xuesong. I mean, you are exactly why I wrote that book, and exactly why I didn't take a royalty from it, from the Chinese edition, to keep it cheap, because I wanted to encourage young students to use it and get out there and take an interest. But of course, it's 20 years old, very out of date, and there's been huge changes in taxonomy and huge changes in our knowledge base. So I've been pressed everywhere I go. People say, when am I going to update it or bring it out? And I sort of, I'm lazy, so I didn't want to do it. I said, well, it's time you guys produce your own field guide. But in the end, I felt I better, before I die, I better leave a reasonably up-to-date version of the book. It's changed as well. Its nature's changed a bit.
Could you please introduce the new guide to the birds of China? Like, what are the updates, and what do you want to talk about? Well, the new book?
Of course, I wanted to correct some irritating mistakes that were made in the first book. They permanently hurt me when I see something and I know it's wrong, and I've never been able to change it. So that was one thing. But there are about I don't know how many. It must be about 100 or 200 species, additional species that come in. A lot of them are taxonomic splits. One frustration with the first book, I suppose, was the description of voice. It was very unusual to record bird calls in those days. Those were freaks running around the forest with vast parabolic reflectors, and obviously on a different planet to us. And but they've put their sounds in these libraries, and now with technology, so I've included QR codes in the text, so you can just scan the QR code and listen to the typical. I can't put in all of them, but you get a feel for the call of each bird. I think that's an innovation. Some of the plates of the old book were not that clear or satisfactory. So I used the chance to get new plates. We've done about 50 new plates. sadly, the artist Karen Phillips has died meanwhile, died of cancer, but I have permission from her before she died, and now from her brother, who sort of owns her photos and her paintings and stuff, to use whatever we can. So probably 2/3 of the paintings are still from Karen, but about 1/3 of the paintings in the new book are not, and some of them are really very good. I think I've shared with you a couple of plates of the leaf warblers, for instance. They're lovely. I think that you will find in the new book the best coverage of all the difficult leaf warblers that you could find in China, the most up to date and most detailed diagnostics on the pictures. Really, really good. The rose finches have changed, and various other groups now you will find a lot easier. It hasn't got any smaller, of course, because we've added 200 species, but it isn't got any bigger. It's the same number of pages as the original, which means the text descriptions have been sort of shortened somehow, but I think they're still in detail enough.
Yeah.
So I think those are the main real changes to the book.
Yeah, I noticed two interesting things from what you just said, and like the first one is about the QR code of voice, and because many people say, we are currently living in a digital time, and almost everything could end up being done in our mobile phones. And I also noticed there have been an increasing number of bird guide apps, in mobile phones, such as Colin's Field Guide. So I'm a bit curious about why. Why do we still need traditional paper bird guide, or why are they irreplaceable?
I think a lot of people have expected books worldwide to sort of disappear, and they haven't. We love books. It's very, very nice to have. I've got it here. And you go to the familiar pages, read the text, you can underline it, you can put notes in it. Somewhere on your app, you'd have to, oh gosh, why have they moved that? I'm sure, that those phones are wonderful, and I'm sure people use them and will use them. And indeed, a field guide on a phone can have more pictures, it can have photos, it can have videos, it can have sound clips, and it can have all sorts of stuff that we can't put in a book. But a book still has a place. And I think there's something about, paintings. Of course, you can have the paintings on a phone app as well, but there's something you can put details and clarify details in a painting that you'll never get on a photo. You'd need many photos to kind of capture all the elements that you can put on one clear illustration.
And also, I think, because many bird watchers will go to places without signal, and at that moment you can never rely on your mobile phone, but you can always rely on your book. And that's why that's why I love books, and also the way you just kind of scroll, read it. And
well, I'm sure the signal will cover everywhere fairly soon. And not only that, someone is looking over your shoulder at everything you do on your phone. So you say, oh, blue rock thrush, and your phone will say, wrong, it's a... Someone will be monitoring every keystroke.
What you think important about this book is it is still a field guide, like it should be taken to the field. Is that the reason why you separated the book into two plates? Like the illustrations and text?
Well, there we have a cultural difference. The English edition, the OUP, is one book, and it has the maps and more or less opposite the right figure, and then the text within a page or so either way. So it'll be easier to find your way and to link the text with the pictures. In China, I was slightly distressed to find most bird watchers ripped my book in half.
Yeah, me too. Sorry.
I was often asked to sign half a book, often the half book, Karen's half book, not even my half of the book. And Mr. Hu, the editor at Commercial Press, decided we'd be better to actually have it in two parts. So you only need to carry probably the pictures and maps, and it has the SQ codes on it in the field, and then you've got the text at home to check in the evenings or whatever. So it's two volumes. It's 200 renminbi. I think you can get a discount if you pre-order it or whatever. That's still a bit expensive for a Chinese book, but
it's definitely worth it, I think.
Yes, it's not that expensive.
So I'll ask the last question. Like, what is your expectations on this new book? Or, put it in another way, what do you expect to see in bird watching in China in the next 2 decades, maybe, or 10 years,
Well, I don't know. I mean, of course, I want it to be better than the last book or more useful. I'm often asked to be a judge for bird races and things like that. And there are quite a lot of mistaken identity presented. And I'm supposed to say, no, that's wrong. It must be this. And of course, I feel guilty. Why do they get it wrong? They get it wrong because my first field guide obviously is not clear enough. And So I hope in the future, if I'm asked to judge something, I will have very little work to do. I'll be able to say yes.
Wow, cool. Thank you so much. And really happy to have you here today. And congratulations with the book, and I hope it will,
I just hope it's useful. That's all I ask. If someone produces a better book, a cheaper book, or whatever, fine. I just want Chinese birders to have the tools, and I've done what I can.
So from your introduction to the book, that sounds to me it's a tremendous work out there. And is there any co-authors or illustrators you want to recognize or thank?
Well, of course, I get criticized for I've been in China for over 30-something years. So my Chinese standard is very, very low. I depend very much on translators, and of course, the new bird records come from all over the place. But Yi Fan, you probably know of, did the translation of the book, and he's really thorough and careful, and he identified so many mistakes in the original draft and corrected things, and has been a very important part of this production. And the publisher, the editor at Commercial Press, Mr. Hu, is also a birder and queried a lot of things with his old professor and whatnot. So it was screened very well, and a lot of people have helped me get around China and visit some exciting places, different photographic or bird races and those kind of events. But the artists were very, very good. I think Yang Xiaonon, very high standard of illustrations, but I had several other new artists, Xiao Yao and Gao Zhe, Lan Jianjun. So they're all listed in the acknowledgements, but they're very, very good contribution to the book. Of course, it remains a bit of a legacy to Karen's work. I'm very happy to keep her work. A lot of people love her birds.
So when will the book be for sale, and where can we get it?
You can order it from the Shangwu Yinshu Guang, and it costs 200, but you can get a discount if you order it in advance. The editors, Hu Yun Biao. For the English version, you have to order it from Oxford University Press.
Thank you so much. And
all right. Cheers, John.
Cheers, John.
All right.